Hey, I lived in New York City and Manhattan all my life, okay? So, my views are a little bit different than if I lived in Iowa, perhaps. I am pro-choice in every respect, and as far as it goes. I am pro-life. Everybody knows I'm pro-life. But I just believe in choice. There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah. I've been told by some people that was a older line answer.
Welcome to Trumpcast, the show about the man whose first skyscraper was described by the American Institute of Architects Guide as an utter and inexcusable outrage. I'm Jacob Weisberg. So, according to the latest CNN poll, Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump 54 to 41%. And my reaction to that was, who on earth are the 41% of Americans who think it would be a good idea for Donald Trump to be president? I don't want to dismiss these people and their concerns, however much I might disagree with their choice. And earlier this week, I got an email from a member of that 41%, a listener named Jan Jennings, who lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He said he enjoyed the comedy we've been doing, but wanted to explain to me why he was supporting Donald Trump. His reasons were interesting, and I really appreciated that he sent me such a friendly and thoughtful letter. I liked it so much that I wrote back and invited him to come on the show. I'll be back with Jan Jennings in a few minutes. But first, let's do the tweets.
The protesters in California were thugs and criminals. Many are professionals. They should be dealt with strongly by law enforcement. At Karl Rove is a failed Jeb Bush. Never says anything good and never will, even after I beat Hillary. Shouldn't be on the air. Crooked Hillary Clinton said she's used to dealing with men who get off the reservation. Actually, she's done poorly with such men. I would rather run against crooked Hillary Clinton than Bernie Sanders, and that will happen because the books are cooked against Bernie.
My guest today is Jan Jennings. He's the vice president of Jennings Service Company in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Jan, thanks for joining me today on Trumpcast.
Hey, nice to be here.
I want to start just by reading a little introduction to your letter, if that's okay. You said, the reason I'm emailing you is because I feel that the media, your podcast included, lumps me as a Trump supporter in with a few small but loud factions of his support, like the KKK, racist, white supremacists, etc. I think of myself as a fairly normal, level-headed person. I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm a Trump supporter. So, Jan, tell us a little more about yourself. Tell us about your business and tell me why you support Donald Trump.
Okay. I'm a mechanical engineer. I run a mechanical contracting firm. We do plumbing and air conditioning installations in commercial construction. Contractors, people like us, we got hurt real bad when the recession came. A lot of us had to dig off pretty deep into bank lines of credit, and things like that. And, the banks, they got a bailout. The government seemed to support them, and none of us did. And we're still struggling from that. And margins on construction projects haven't gone up. Labor wages haven't gone up. Our guys are barely able to survive, the guys that work for us in the field. And we just kind of feel like the government's left us behind. I do, at least.
Jen, I took away from your letter that you were really angry about the bailout after the financial crisis. How do you think Trump would have dealt with that same situation? Would he have had an alternative to bailing out the banks?
I don't know if he had an alternative or not, but I think he would have recognized the position of leverage that the government was in and been able to get a lot more oversight out of the whole situation. And maybe if he had to bail them out for the greater good, then he might have still done it. But being a developer himself, I think he'd have just been conscientious of the average American as well.
You wrote in your letter that when Trump got in trouble in the 80s, got overextended, he basically was able to tell the banks to stick it, and he survived and was still a wealthy person. And you feel like, of course, you couldn't do that.
Well, I couldn't do that. I haven't had as many successful projects as he's had before he got to that position, and he was able to set his business up where each deal was its own entity, so he could bankrupt a portion of his enterprise without dealing with the whole thing. And most people aren't in that position, but we certainly would like to be. I'd love to be able to, when a particular project goes bad, I'd love to be able to bankrupt that one project and still keep my business, but I can't do it. I have to take the loss. So, I kind of envy that.
I can understand why you envy it, but when you think about it, though, didn't Trump bought a lot of things he couldn't afford with someone else's money? I mean, he bought an airline, the Eastern Shuttle. He bought casino in Atlantic City. He built buildings. And then when he couldn't pay the bills, he said to the bank, "You're out of luck, because if I go into bankruptcy, you're going to get pennies on the dollar." So he worked something out with him. I understand why you would love to be in that position in relation to the banks yourself as a businessman, but why is that admirable as someone who, say, is going to be running national finance?
Well, to think about it in a way that he spent money he couldn't afford to spend. I think he made some investments and thought they were going to go better than they did. And when he got in that situation, he did what was best for him and his personal economy at the time. So if he's doing that sort of decision on a national level, making those sort of decisions on a national level, I mean, I'd rather see us make the hard choice but the right choice as a country instead of the easy choice and the wrong choice,
So talk to me about why you think some of Trump's other policies would be good for you, good for your business.
Well, Trump talks a lot about bringing manufacturing jobs back to the states, which I think would be absolutely fantastic for the construction industry. A lot of plants that are closed now may open back up, or maybe new plants would get built, which is a direct benefit. And then communities that have deteriorated because of lost jobs, they would get back to growing and get back to thriving, and that'd bring developments in, new construction developments, and that'd be more people working in the construction industry, which would raise margins. It'd raise labor rates. The guys working in the field could actually earn a living again. So that's a good thing. And I think getting in control of illegal immigration will also help that. I do support immigration, but I don't support illegal immigration. I'm not sure that building a wall is the absolute best thing, but it is a serious issue, and it drives wages down across the country. I see it happen firsthand. So.
Jen, you describe yourself as a Christian and a good citizen. Tell me what does and doesn't appeal to you about Trump personally.
The things that don't appeal to me, I mean, he is a little radical and a little brash with some of the things he says. I think the building a wall, what are we going to do, build a wall, who's going to pay for it? That's hilarious and it gets people pumped up. But
you don't find that too realistic?
Well, I mean, I don't see it happening, but I think that we can stop illegal immigration without building a wall, or at least regulate it. He's brash and he's harsh on some things that I don't like, but that same personality is some of the things I do like about him. He says things that other people tiptoe around. That's him. I guess that's his personality. I don't know him, but it seems to be his personality that he says what he thinks, whether it's brash or not, and sometimes it's offensive and sometimes it's just realistic.
Jen, do you think that immigrants who are here illegally should all be deported? That's maybe 11, 12 million people.
No, I don't think they should be rounded up and deported. I think that if they've been living in the United States for a while and they've been just doing their best to be good citizens, earning a living, not being criminals or anything like that, I think they should be given some sort of a way to to become American, or at least have a legal working status. They definitely are going to owe us some back taxes.
That is not Mr. Trump's policy, however.
Yeah, I know. But
lastly, Jen, you mentioned that you don't like being associated with you're a reasonable person. You're tolerant. You don't like being associated with bigots and other people who may support Trump. How do you deal with that? I mean, if you go to a Trump rally, some of those people are there, right?
Well, I haven't been to a Trump rally, but I know a lot of people who are Trump supporters, and they're not those type of people either. So dealing with it, it's just normal for me. I don't live in a very liberal area, so I don't see a lot of Never Trump protests and that sort of thing. So it's easy to live that way. But I watch the news and listen to a lot of podcasts, and I feel like that there are people in the country that lump a lot of Trump supporters in with that group of people, and most of us aren't. Most of us are just real world people just trying to survive financially.
You also mentioned that you like that because he's been self-financing, that he's not bought and paid for by industry, which is how you see some of the other candidates other than Bernie Sanders you mentioned. But Trump's about to start raising money himself. He may pay himself back all that money, which he lent to his campaign. Do you think that still he's going to be able to run for president and keep that independence that he gets from being a rich guy paying his own way?
Yeah, I read a little bit about that. They think he needs to generate around $1 billion to do that. That's a lot of money to ask anyone to come out of. I don't think he'll take any funding from anyone that he's not comfortable being tied to. I don't think he'll get himself in a position where somebody owns him politically. But if he takes some donations because he needs it to keep up with Hillary, then that's just what he'll have to do.
And what do you think when you see some of these senior figures in the Republican Party, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Mitt Romney, saying they can't in good conscience support Trump? What's your reaction to that?
Well, with Romney, it's just hypocritical. With Bush, I can see the Bush family kind of still having their feelings hurt. I mean, Trump's pretty harsh on them, so I can see them wanting to just ride it out for a little while. But Romney's just hypocritical.
And what about Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, who says he's not ready to support Trump?
Oh, he's just playing games right now, so he can get a little bit so he can make sure he gets some of his agenda and Trump's agenda. Just trying to use a little leverage is all.
You might be exactly right about that. Is there anything more you want from Trump? I mean, is there any way Trump could lose your support, and is there anything he has to do to keep it between now and November?
I think to keep it, he's just got to focus on the economy, bringing jobs home, having a realistic plan to immigration, and I plan on supporting him, and for him to lose my support, he'd have to. I don't know. I guess he'd have to go either really far right or really far left pretty consistently, which I consider myself a more moderate person. So we'll see.
Jen Jennings is a Trump supporter and the vice president of Jennings Service Company in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Jan, thanks for joining me on the show.
Okay, thanks. I enjoy your show. It's hilarious. Keep the skits going.
Thank you. That's it for today's episode of Trumpcast. The show is produced by Henry Malofsky and Jason DeLeon. Slate's executive producer is Steve Lichtai. Andy Bowers is our chief content officer. Special thanks to John DiDomenico, our voice of the Donald. I'm Jacob Weisberg. Thanks for listening to Trumpcast.
Happy #Cinco de Mayo. The best taco bowls are made in Trump Tower Grill. I love Hispanics.
In every city,
she encouraged them to enjoy what she called the cheerful hurly-burly of city life.
In every town.
And now we've just been around long enough, and the town looks so much better.
There are people who want to change things.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Why can't we do that in my community and other communities everywhere?
To make them better.
My point to them is it can be better. It can be better than that. It'll be different.
Or to protect things from getting worse.
If you're a responsible person, you have to oppose things that are dumped right on your neighborhood, right in an area that you know about.
I'm Rebecca Shear, inviting you to check out Placemakers, the podcast from Slate Magazine about the spaces we inhabit and the people who shape them. Subscribe now to Placemakers. You'll never look at your community the same way again.